Solopreneur business model. You know what? That's what we're going to talk about. As entrepreneurs and business owners, we know that if we have a clear plan, anything becomes possible. And if you can have a clear plan, a clear process to create that plan, and a way to create clarity with your partner or spouse, you can drive to amazing heights. So when it comes to creating your ideal model as a solopreneur, well, I've actually written a book that covers all of this and helps you define what that looks like. And there's 100 different ways to look at it. In fact, when you start to step into becoming a solopreneur, what it gives you is the opportunity to step out of living in the box. And what I mean by that is whatever you want is possible. It genuinely is. The limitations are only going to be on what you're thinking. The traditional 40-hour work week with 2 weeks off a year, you don't have to live that, I promise. I personally, my wife and I, we take 2 months off a year for adventure travel. She works 3 days a week. I try and work 4 days a week. I call it Freedom Friday. It ends up being more creative and Content Friday. But the point is that we have the ability to do that. But you have to put a lot of clarity and intention of where it is and you want to go. And to start with, you really need to define what does success look like for you. So what I mean by that is, let's go through and look at a few different things that you can determine. Because people, oh, I just want to make a lot of money. Okay, if you're looking for straight comp, there's ways that as a solopreneur you can make $1 million a year, I promise. Depends on what the job is and what the creative space is. But if you're looking to work harder and you want to make more money, it's definitely a possibility. Now, there's also sometimes people looking, no, I want prestige. I want to be a speaker. I want to be known. I want to be a thought leader, things like that. Okay, it can be some fairly heavy headwinds to make that happen, but it's possible. The next one is having that flexibility. Now that's important for us because we love to do international travel and we love spending about half of our time to about 3/4 of our time in the high country at 10,000 feet where I am today in Colorado, buried in the mountains, trees, it's beautiful. But then we also have family and we live in clients back in Nebraska and we spend about a week a month there and it works out really well for us, but we've done this by design. We've been very, very specific. So in some cases, maybe there's a location. Maybe you're looking for one thing, or maybe you're not looking for any location. In my latest book, Life on Your Terms, it specifically goes through and talks about somebody who has a great job, they love what they do, but they aren't really happy where they're working. They would prefer to be able to have adventures and travel and mountain bike and things like that, kind of where I come from, spoiler alert. And in the end, it talks about how this person was able to transition from a corner office to living in a van, but a nice $200,000 Sprinter van, and traveling the world and doing his adventures. Now in that case for him, that worked, having that flexibility. And then lastly is the time. How much time are you looking to invest? Maybe you're a new parent and you say, look, I really want to be involved with my kids' lives a lot, and I only want to work 15 to 20 hours a week. Again, you can do that. There's no rules. When you think about time, little segue, but it's worth thinking about. Forever, humans live by agrarian time. And what I mean by that is whatever time it took to go milk the cow or harvest the wheat or sleep or we just did that. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution, which is a newer construct in the last couple hundred years, that people started trading time for money. And now we have industrial time. So as a result, we're slaves to our watch, we're slaves to certain time frames on everything when we started trading that. As a solopreneur, you can say, heck with that. I'm not going to do any of that. So it empowers you to start saying, no, what do I want amazing to look like for my life? Now, why is this important? Well, more often than not, for a strategy to really be successful, you need to start with the end in mind. So if you like, you can go to our website, The Aspiring Solopreneur, and we have a tool on there called the Balance Wheel. Doesn't cost you anything, no obligations, anything, not selling anything. You're welcome to take this. It takes about 10 minutes and it'll immediately give you full results of where you are. And it's a visual that says, hey, here's where you stand today. And it hits 4 different quadrants. One of those quadrants specifically goes through and talks about where's your professional. And within the professional, we have our environment, our job compensation, and our job satisfaction and our comp. That's one aspect. The next area is going to be resources, our time, our talent, or what do we have in our brains, and our treasure, how much stuff and money do we have. We also have health, physical, mental, and spiritual, self-explanatory. And then lastly, relationships. What matters when we look at the relationships from a friends, family, and then from our partner. But if you can go through and define on a holistic level, what does success look like? This is going to be the start of what it is. So if you love exercise and you want to make sure you're doing exercise every day for 2 hours, and you want to spend quality time with family and friends, well, maybe you're going to want to live a simpler life, but you have the time and flexibility to do that. Fair enough. Let's define what that success looks like for you. So when you're thinking about what that business model is, that's the first place to start, is defining what that success is. Now, the next thing is going to be thinking about what are the things that you're great at, and what is the tool that you're bringing to the business. As a solopreneur, and for the business model you're creating, what is the value prop? What is the tool you're bringing? So if you currently work for an organization, whether it be IT or legal or whatever it may be, is that something that you can take those skills in some form and step out and create your own business? A lot of times you'll actually make more money doing that, but you've got more exposure and you have to be very, very accountable. And we talk about a lot of this on other videos in this channel, but something to think about. But thinking about what does that work and look like for you? Part of this is you're going to have to take into account the type of person you are and what do you love doing and what do you not necessarily love doing. So if maybe you're great at doing the work, but I really don't like doing sales or networking or even talking to people in some cases. Okay, that's okay. Doesn't mean that it's off the table. What it means though is that you're probably not going to you're not going to be great at doing a lot of the business development. What you could do though is perhaps you say, okay, my model is going to say, I'm going to go find other people who need help, who are already doing this work, and I'll take their overflow work. Or I'll contract with them in those cases, so I'm not going out and doing directly. Now maybe you don't make as much money, they make a little arbitrage, a little difference in money, but they're charging you, but you help them and they're helping you. Or maybe you do love sales, great. Maybe you can go out and have fewer clients, but do a really great job with the few and do the whole process all the way soup to nuts. And again, we talk about all that in here, where it helps you define what that looks like and how you'd actually find those people to talk to, what does that look like, and how you build from there. So once you've defined, hey, this is what I want my life to look like, B, I think this is probably what I'm pretty good at, and these are the areas that I find interesting and would integrate well into what I want my life to be. Then we can get into the technical and the mechanics, where you build a team of advisors, and those team of advisors are going to help you. Now, I'm not saying you got to spend a bunch of money. In fact, I don't think you have to spend any, and I've helped a lot of people do this. But if you start with a small business accountant, most of these people are going to give you 30 minutes to an hour of time on them as you're interviewing them. And we talk about what are the right questions and how do you find those people and things like that. But it helps you, and that's your job, is you have to be accountable to get everything done, but you don't have to do it all. So if you start with a small business accountant, they're going to be able to say, you know, I've got 2 clients that happen to do similar things. They may even make introductions, but this is the structure they have. This is how they're doing this. This is why it works. This is what didn't work. You're going to find that as you start to get into the entrepreneurial space, people love talking about what works and what doesn't, how they can help you. And if they don't, fair enough. They're not a fit. Let them go. But once you do this, then that person is going to be able to say, all right, hey, my accountant, Trisha, she's great. It's like, hey, Trisha, who would you recommend from an attorney? Who's a great small business attorney? Who's a great small business insurance person? Who's a great small business banker? And they can help start making recommendations and connections. And you can actually build an entire team that usually will give you 30 minutes to an hour each off, no cost. And again, we talk about how to do that, but that team of advisors is going to really help define what is the ideal structure for you and where you want to take your business. And this is very much involved when it comes to defining what is your solopreneur business model. So lastly, how do we go through and if you have questions on these things, where are you going for help? Well, there's ways that you can build a group of people that can be your mentors, or maybe they can be peers, but how can you create that network of people that you can be bouncing questions off of? So hopefully you found some value in this video. If you did, please subscribe, check out some of our other videos. And if you have any questions about the courses, we do a full entire course online with this so that you can successfully transition to your solopreneur career. Reach out to us at the Aspiring Solopreneur. Keep smiling.